Back home again in Indiana, and it seems that I can see the gleaming candlelight still shining bright through the sycamores for me. The new mown hay sends all its fragrance from the fields I used to roam. When I dream about the Wabash, then I long for my Indiana home. Back home again in Indiana, and it seems that I can see the gleaming candlelight still shining bright through the sycamores for me. The new mown hay sends all its fragrance from the fields I used to roam. When I dream about the Wabash, how I long for my Indiana.
Everyone, and welcome to the Leanne Grotke Dinner and Ceremony. I am Terry Fancher, Chair of the Eye Association Board of Directors and your MC for this evening. I hope you enjoyed that short set by Another Round. They are the singing a cappella group from the Alumni Association. And let's show our appreciation to Another Round again. When I use visionary athletic director as present at our events. And the 106-year history of the Eye Association, no IU athletic director has been more supportive of our Alumni Letter Winners Association and its programs and activities than Fred Glass. Now I want to make sure that maybe he mentions a couple of things, but just so you know, last year, IU had a graduation rate of 91.2%. 14 out of 24 programs were ranked in the top 25 during the season or finished in the top 25. And IU won the Governor's Cup, which is the all-sports competition with Purdue. So please welcome Vice President and Director of Intercollegiate Athletics, Fred Glass.
Good evening, everyone. Great to have you here, and welcome to the athletics campus of the Hinckley Hall of Champions. We appreciate that. I apologize in advance. I have some other events this weekend that I need to attend to, but I very much wanted to come here and bring greetings and formally meet and thank Debbie and Brenda and Linda and Hugh boom. Congratulations, you're great representatives of this wonderful award, and we really, really appreciate it, and congratulations to each and every one of you. Our big audacious goal at Indiana University Athletics is to develop our kids better than any other school, academically, athletically, and personally. And we approach that by focusing like a laser on 5 priorities, and some of you veterans, see Amy nodding her head, some of you veterans will remember those. I want to outline those because I think they're important, because I'm class of 1981. I love this place. I'd like to think that I try to be a steward here like you might be if you were fortunate enough to find yourself in this role. And I think by following these 5 priorities, we're trying to do just that. So number 1, we play by the rules. You know, nothing else really matters if you don't play by the rules. And we follow all the rules. The dumb rules, the little rules, the rules our competitors don't follow. Kelvin Sampson infamously said, "I follow the rules that are good rules." And he didn't follow the rule about the cell phone. And guess what? It was a dumb rule. He was right. It's not even a rule anymore. But look what came crashing down because he thought he was above following all the rules. And that's an instructive experience that we try to embrace and understand and never follow again. Number 2, we want our kids to be well in mind, body, and spirit. We have a whole first-class medical facility dedicated to doing just that. We have not 1 but 2 full-time wellness, not performance, wellness psychologists available to our kids, because I don't think there's ever been a harder time to be a young person than in today's environment, when we really focus on the mental health of our kids. Number 3, we want to achieve academically. Terry was nice enough to mention our 91.2% graduation success rate. I'll just tell you a quick little thing about that. When I got here, our graduation success rate was 74%. We were dead last in the Big Ten, tied with Purdue, for our graduation success rate. Every year since, we've set a new graduation success rate record. So now we're at 91.2%, we're in the top third of the Big Ten. And, oh, by the way, Purdue is 13 out of 14, 1% out of last. We want to be excellent athletically. We're here to win championships. We're not here to be right in there or be competitive. We're here to win championships, like our women's tennis program has a national championship in women's tennis. And I tell our kids to give them context. Indiana University athletic history is rich. A lot of the people in this room helped establish that. We have 25 national championships, which puts us in the top 25 nationally. And you know, I don't want to pick on anybody, but just give some context to that. We have 25. In the entire history of Purdue University, with every sport they've sponsored since like 1872, they have 3. We have 25, they have 3. 4 of our programs, I don't want to rub it in, but 4 of their programs, 4 of our programs have as many or more championships by themselves than Purdue has put together. Track and field has 3, men's basketball has 5, men's swimming has 6, men's soccer has 8. Men's soccer has 5 more by itself than Purdue's won in the whole history of the program. So that's just some context for you guys. And then finally, we want to be integrated with the university. We don't want to be a silo. We want to be engaged with the university as part of something bigger than ourselves. So we feel like if we focus on those 5 priorities, we will establish a new golden age of IU athletics, which I think we're in the process of doing. In great part, thanks to you, we stand on the shoulders of great champions and people, and we appreciate all your support for that. I'm going to shift gears here for a minute, which is, I think, a surprise to most, but as you know, it's the bicentennial year, and one of the great things President Grotke has done is establish the new bicentennial medal. And I'd like to read just a little bit, maybe more than a little bit, about what it is about. The Bicentennial Medal is awarded to individuals who, through their personal, professional, artistic, or philanthropic efforts, have broadened the reach of Indiana University around the state, nation, and world. The medals themselves are unique, made from materials salvaged from old bells which hung in the student building on the IU Bloomington campus, giving recipients a lasting piece of IU history. The Bicentennial Medal honors distinguished and distinctive service in support of Indiana University's mission as a public university, individuals who have enlarged the footprint of IU or have helped put IU on the map in unique ways. Those receiving the Bicentennial Medal should be seen as models for future students, faculty, alumni, and organizations to emulate as IU enters its third century. So as a Vice President of the University, I have the ability to nominate and present the Bicentennial Medal, and tonight it's my great pleasure to present that medal to Leanne Grotke Andreas for all of her tremendous service to Indiana University. That she's receiving this award. I think we have it on videotape. Leanne, we're excited. Congratulations. Receiving it for Leanne is Terry Batchner, the president of the Eye Association, and I can't imagine a more deserving recipient, so please, next time you see Leanne, please give her congratulations. Thank you so much for your attention.
At this time, I would like to call forward Mark Deal, Indiana University Assistant Athletic Director for Alumni Relations and immediate past chair of the Eye Association. He will present the Bill Orwig Award. Please welcome Mark Deal.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Let me begin this evening's recognitions with the presentation of the Bill Orwig Medallion. The J.W. Bill Orwig Medal is presented to non-alumnus living friends who have made outstanding contributions to Indiana University through its service to its athletic program. Bill Orwig was the IU athletic director from 1961 to 1975 and was characterized as a man with exceptional intelligence and class and knew how to get along with people and with coaches. Orwig is credited with developing Indiana's athletic program into a major league operation with facilities, teams, and coaches. I would like to, at this time, honor some of the previous Bill Orwig Award winners. And I need to mention that Orwig honorees are slated by the Eye Association Awards Committee and are approved by the Eye Association Board of Directors. With us this evening are several past recipients of this award. Author, and please stand when I call you, author and legendary IU sports writer, Bob Hamill is here with his wife, Julie. Another past winner, former IU track coach, Marshall Goss, and his wife, Candy. Former Indiana University faculty member, IU athletics booster, and volunteer extraordinaire, Nick Hipskett and his wife, Sam. Former IU baseball coach, Bob Morgan is here with his wife, Bridget. His 782 victories as IU head baseball coach gives him more wins than any coach in any sport in IU history. Coach Bob Morgan. The winningest women's tennis coach in NCAA history, Lynn Loring. And representing her husband, IU football's all-time winningest coach, the late Bill Mallory, is his wife, Ellie Mallory. Now to the present. Hugh A. Shanahan of Bloomington, Indiana, is a lifelong fan of IU athletics, and his roots to IU go very deep. His father, Hugh Shanahan Sr., played on the first IU football team to defeat Michigan in 1928, and on the first IU team to win the Old Oaken Bucket in 1930. Hugh is a graduate of Ward High School in Gary, Indiana, where he was an excellent high school football player. Hugh has a degree from Saddleback College in criminal justice and a bachelor's and master's degree in public service management from the University of Redlands in Redlands, California. He has used his education to serve our country as a law enforcement officer. First, as a uniformed police officer in his hometown of Gary, Indiana. In 1965, he accepted a position as an agent with the Drug Enforcement Administration of the United States Department of Justice. His rise in the Department of Justice was rapid, moving from a street agent to a supervisory role to the Director of Operations of the Drug Enforcement Group in Northwest Indiana and Chicago. In 1971, he was promoted and transferred to Los Angeles, where he held a supervisory and training role for 250 DEA agents and over 2,000 law enforcement agents for all the western states that included Alaska to the Micronesian Islands. For this, he was selected by his peers as the Narcotics Officer of the Year in Los Angeles, California. Special Agent Shanahan was again promoted to the National DEA Training Headquarters, where he directed training to federal, military, state, and local law enforcement officers. During this time, he was frequently asked to assist some of the very people he had trained. In 1981, he was promoted to the Organized Crime Drug Enforcement Task Force. This team attacked drug crime at the highest national and international levels. He retired from his position in 1992. Hugh was wounded or injured 11 times in the line of duty, including 2 gunshot wounds and 2 stabbings. Upon his retirement, Hugh made his way back to Bloomington, Indiana, and he regularly gave lectures on the perils of drugs and gambling to the NFL, NBA, NHL, and Major League Baseball teams. One year after a lecture to Coach Bo Schembechler's Michigan Wolverines, one of Bo's players, a player by the name of Kurt Mallory, suggested to his father Bill that he use Hugh to speak to the IU football team. Hugh thereafter gave a lecture to the Hoosier football team each year, a tradition continued by coaches Cam Cameron and Bill Lynch. While Hugh charged other college and professional teams for his services, he always did talks for the Hoosiers for free. He was a friend of many IU student athletes and would help find summer jobs for them through his connections. He was an IU Varsity Club donor, a charter member of the IU 12th Man Club, a legacy locker donor, and a regular at IU football practice during the spring and fall. We all owe Hugh a great debt of gratitude for help keeping our streets, our communities, and our country safe for the last half century. Mr. Hugh A. Shanahan, by order of the officers and board of the Eye Association, you are hereby a recipient of the Bill Orwig Award. we present this award with gratitude and admiration for your outstanding contributions you have made to Indiana University as an individual who has truly enhanced the university's reputation by your associations with it. Congratulations, Hugh Shanahan.
My thoughts as I sat there with Mrs. Mallory and the family of all of you, each one of you could be here. Pretty startling when you said, "I think I'm next." But then I came back to ground because I remembered a conversation that Mark and I had long after his father, coaching football teams, beat up on us pretty badly year after year. It was just before the Purdue game. You may not remember this, but just before the Purdue game that year, and the practice at the time was there was a ceremony of sorts that certainly Coach Mallory instituted, but the team had a special routine that they went through, and it was very touching. They spoke, and we were all a part of it. After the team was done, left the field, it was one of those fall nights that we all stay, for the most part, living in Indiana. Air was crisp. Children were going to go out trick or treat. It was Purdue night the day before. And Mark and I were getting pretty philosophical about the whole thing. I said, "Mark, imagine what it's like just being here again on the field during the game." And the sun was setting, shining on the field. And he said, "Really, I can't bring it back, the whole thing," but he said, I can't think of any place in the world I'd rather be than right here, right now, at this time." And I said, "Well, Mark, I think I can beat that. Not only do I feel that way, but I'll share a secret with you. In my will, I have mandated, after my cremation, that my Linda, sitting here, bring some of my ashes down to the Indiana football field some quiet night." You can see what's coming. It's not a build-up to a big punchline. No. And I said, "I'm going to have her sprinkle them right there in the center of the field on the big block IU." And he thought about it a moment. He said, "That's touching." He said, "But you do realize that that's artificial grass and we vacuum it once a week." And he's giving me an award. I learned a long time ago that there's a direct inverse relationship between the curriculum vitae that is being read about the honoree and his ability as a public speaker. Thank you, sir. I have no intention of disrupting that thought. Along that line, I learned very, very soon in life as a public speaker that there are some rules to go by. One is you make it absolutely as short as possible. And that's pretty simple too, I can do that. And then I also learned that there's a couple of other things that unfortunately Mark didn't know tonight. When you have a room full of 300 really important people, and they're pretty much in the bag for, most of them, a little bit anyway, at least you're feeling good, you never turn the microphone over an American Irish cop. But yet, in spite of all that, here I am. A slow learner, as somebody said, to be here in this room, in this building, to know that for as long as this university stands, the name of Shanahan will be here. Think about that. A boy from Miller, Indiana, a high school of 300 kids, here tonight with people, George Ballou, Mallory's wife, names that I grew up with as a child. I wish there were words to adequately express, because I'm usually pretty good at it, but not so much tonight. You go to a wedding and you go up to the couple that are being married and you say congratulations, but your heart is so much more full of really what you want to say to them. And you go to a funeral and you say, I'm sorry. But that isn't it. You meet young people in love and you think, good for you, live a long and happy life. But that really doesn't express the emotions that you're feeling in your heart, literally to the core of your being. And tonight I have to say thank you. You'll never know. Thank you. Good night.
Now my pleasure to call up Ann Bastinelli. She is the former board chair of the iWomen's Association and the annual presenter of the Leanne Grotke Awards.
Okay, everybody at my table is, okay, now it's your turn. I'm like, how do you follow that? Oh yeah, you can do that, Ann. You can go follow that. We are so happy to be here tonight. For those of you who've been here in the past, this is such a thrilling night. For anybody who's participated in athletics, isn't this amazing, Linda? And you know, all of the people who I talked to, all of you guys, Brenda, Linda, wherever you are, yeah, okay, Debbie, is Leanne going to be there? Because we all know Leanne, and you know, I'm sure she would absolutely love to be here, but she is not, of course. And she has some prepared words, which I hope I do justice to. I'm just reading them, but pretend might be a tough assignment. Pretend that this is Leanne Grotke going, okay? Good evening, everyone, especially to our three outstanding women we're here to honor this evening. I also wish to extend my sincere appreciation to I Association Director Brian Brozzi and his staff for their dedication to IU athletics, and particularly to their continuing efforts to elevate and recognize women in sports, and to the loyal supporters of Indiana athletics. It is an honor to be named on the award being presented. However, I'm even more grateful it pays tribute to former women athletes for their outstanding accomplishments both on and off the field at IU and in their chosen careers. There have been 34 recipients of this award to date. These women and the three new awardees truly embrace the ideals of IU and of IU athletics. Linda, Debbie, and Brenda have made Indiana University proud through their continual perseverance and zeal over the years in creating athletic opportunities for and providing direction to young women athletes. Their foundation and leadership in athletics and academics has earned them the respect of colleagues, state and national professional organizations, and in the case of Brenda, her church. All three are exceptional women, exceptional role models, and so deserving of this award. Each one has an inspiring and amazing story to tell. I am so sorry I cannot be there to hear what they have to say and to, along with all of you, salute the three of them. I wish all of you well as you enjoy this memorable evening, and my very best to everyone, and again, thank you for all that you are doing for Indiana University. Leanne Grotke. I think I've tried to see everybody in the room, so I really hope that I've seen everybody and we have an appropriate list here. I want to introduce former Grotke Award winners, because this is as thrilling for us to come back and relive this again as it is for you guys to do this the first time. So, Deb McClure. Back here, Deb. Dr. Amy Matheny. Amy. Donna Sullivan. And where's Roseanne Wilson sitting? There she is, Roseanne Wilson. For those of you who may not have had the wonderful privilege of knowing Leanne, for playing with her, for working with her, for being an associate of hers here at Indiana University, I just want to give you a little bit of her bio. I'm sure this would just absolutely embarrass her to words, but for us, this is, boy, you know, this is part of the pantheon of women's athletics here at Indiana. Leanne Grotke Andreas graduated from Bowling Green State University, where she played basketball and field hockey. She arrived at Indiana University in 1967, having accepted the position of coordinator of intramural and extramural women's sports. She likes to remind us that at the time she held all that position, all the women's teams shared one set of uniforms. I'm going to give you a minute just to take that in. Furthermore, each team received an annual budget of $150. Each team got $150. And operating within those tough parameters, Leanne emerged as an outspoken champion of women's athletics and an advocate for every single team. At the time, Indiana had 9 intercollegiate teams, including basketball, volleyball, tennis, field hockey, golf, softball, swimming, diving, and gymnastics. 2 years after arriving here at IU in 1969, Leanne played a pivotal role in establishing the Indiana Women's Intercollegiate Sports Organization. The IWISO was founded by the now commonplace premise that competitive sports are an enhancement to women's collegiate experience, and therefore opportunities to compete should be provided to highly skilled women. Well, there were 3 simple guidelines of the Indiana Women's Intercollegiate Sports Association, and here they are. First, women's athletics would be supervised by a faculty member in the Department of PE. Second, the organization stipulated that only qualified women would be allowed to teach, coach, and officiate. And thirdly, the university should fund women's sports not just at the intercollegiate level, but at every level, including intramural and extramural. Well, guided by Leanne Grotke and Anita Aldrich, the faculty sponsor, the IWISO grew, and within 2 years, regional boards had developed. In 1971, the IWISO became AIAW, the Association for Intercollegiate Athletics for Women. This is the equivalent of the NCAA for men. And at the encouragement of the University Athletics Committee, Bill Orwig brought the women's program out of the physical education department and over here to the athletics department. In 1972, Title IX legislation passed, and IU needed a visionary to lead it forward to prominence in women's sports. Leanne Grotke was the unanimous choice for them. In 1973, she became the first full-time associate athletic director for women's athletics in the Big Ten. Active in state and regional and national governing bodies for athletics, Leanne was the Midwest representative on the AIAW board. Her presence elevated the reputation of IU women's athletics and led to her being named the commissioner of all national championships for the AIAW. She continued to break down barriers between men's and women's programs when she hired a female trainer, Marge Alban, making IU the first Big Ten school with a co-ed training room. Without a doubt, the leading national advocate for collegiate women's athletics was Leanne Grotke, and under her guidance, Indiana teams competed for numerous championships. All of us here at Indiana proudly claim Leanne as our own, and it is for that reason that the Leanne Grotke Award was created. This award perpetuates the ideals that Leanne Grotke stood for during her years serving IU as a tireless visionary for women's athletics. Because Leanne's impact has stretched far beyond Indiana University, across the nation and around the globe, the Leanne Grotke Award is the highest honor of its kind bestowed by Indiana University. When one's professional achievements, loyal service, and association with the university has resulted in the enhancement of its reputation, they can be considered for the Leanne Grotke Award. I love this award. So we're going to go in alphabetical order today because you're going to see these women are just awesome, and there's no other way to do it than just to do it in ABC order. So we're going to start with C. Linda Cotter. As an undergraduate at IU, Linda Cotter was co-captain of the basketball and softball teams, wearing jersey number 24, my personal favorite. Along with being a varsity letter winner, she also rode trike in the Mini 500 for Foster Harper. I know, right? Her team qualified 41st and finished 3rd her first year. Following year, they won the pole and finished 2nd to McNutt Delgado. You gotta ask her to tell you the whole story, it's just personal. Last time she visited campus, Linda made a special visit to the IU archives to have her picture taken on one of the Mini 500 trikes. At 23, the tender age of 23, Linda coached the first women's intercollegiate basketball team at Illinois Wesleyan. She also had several other jobs. She was the tennis coach, the athletic director, and the chair of the PE department. She earned her master's at Illinois State while coaching, and a one-year appointment at San Francisco State followed. Then she returned to Indiana to get her PhD in athletic administration. As a grad student, Linda taught activity classes like billiards and tennis and conditioning and even archery in the old field house. So many of us here, including, well, Ginger's not here tonight, but Ginger was the setter on Linda's team. We know Linda as the head coach of the JV volleyball team. And I don't know how this is, but apparently teaching and coaching and being a full-time PhD student wasn't enough for Linda. Still had some spare time. So she sought out Anita Aldrich to inquire about also taking some athletic training classes. And those of us who played volleyball at that time know that although trainers Marge Albaum and Sue Hannum traveled with us, it was Linda who taped everybody's ankles. During her 7-year tenure as head coach of Cabrillo College, which is on the coast in Santa Cruz County, kind of south of San Francisco, Linda won back-to-back California Community College basketball championships. So for those of you who may not know, the California has more than like 160 community colleges, so it's a huge state organization. She held coaching and teaching positions at Cal Berkeley, Northern Colorado, and Sonoma State, until she decided to switch gears to lead community recreation in San Rafael and Marinwood. Now, ever since Dr. Brennan's health classes here at IU, Linda had this interest in health and patient care, so along with all that other stuff, she often volunteered in hospital emergency rooms. So she found it so interesting, she returned to school, earned her nursing degree, and became an emergency room nurse at 53. Because, had some time on her hands. You see the theme happening here? She retired in 2017. Well, over the past 50 years, Linda's returned to IU 3 times. Linda, I sincerely hope this evening will surpass those other visits and convince you ought to come back to Bloomington a whole lot more often. Linda Cotter, by order of the officers and board of the Eye Association, and with the enthusiastic endorsement of this award's namesake, you are hereby inducted into the 2019 class of the Leanne Grotke Award. Both as one of its trailblazing women in athletics and as an individual who truly has enhanced the university's reputation by your association with it. Linda, congratulations. Wait a minute. Huh? Oh, we're going to do it. Yeah.
Thank you very much, and good evening. I am deeply honored to be receiving the Grotke Award this evening. Knowing how many talented women athletes and coaches have come out of the programs here over the years humbles me, and I am truly amazed and grateful to be receiving this prestigious award. Congratulations to my fellow award recipients, Brenda, Debbie, and Hugh. I am very impressed with all of your many accomplishments. And congratulations to the many distinguished Grotke and Orwick past award winners, many of whom I had the honor and pleasure of working with and learning from during my time at IU. Leanne Grotke was my teacher as an undergraduate and was the faculty advisor of the Women's Recreation Association, of which I served as president my senior year. The Women's Recreation Association, as Ann mentioned, the student officers and sport heads ran the intramurals and intercollegiate teams back then. I brought a program from one of the annual WRA award ceremonies, so you might see how simple, bare bones our operation was and how far we have come to tonight's elegant award ceremony. Leanne Grotke also hired me as a coach in the athletic department during the first couple years. Women coaches were housed in Assembly Hall. All the women coaches were in one office, which was a single room with a bunch of desks up the southeast ramp of Assembly Hall, in kind of a boiler room with big heating ducts above our heads, but we thought we had died and gone to heaven. I had hoped Leanne might have been able to be here tonight, as I've not seen her since 1978. But I thank her for all she did for me and for countless others, and I wish her all the health and happiness she deserves. I have several people I'd like to thank. I hope I don't skip anyone. Thank you to the officers and past and present members of the Eye Association Board, to the Award Selection Committee, the Alumni Association, and to Fred Glass in the Department of Intercollegiate Athletics at Indiana University. It is truly a huge honor to be associated with all of you in this way. When Sandy Searcy called me last spring to notify me that I had been selected to receive this award, I felt excited, humbled, and grateful. But I also felt a feeling that I still can't put into one word: the thrill of receiving something this wonderful when you could never conceptualize that something like this would exist, let alone be bestowed on you. It's beyond a simple one word like honored or grateful or happy, all of which are true, but it is so much more than that. Back in the late 60s, we were just trying to think of ourselves as athletes and be called IU athletes. Later, as we began our athletic careers or careers related to women's athletics, and even up to recent years, we never expected anyone to go back in time and recognize us in those early years. So to see it happen and to be one of those singled out to receive this special recognition is beyond awesome. To borrow a more modern description, I'm having trouble wrapping my mind around it. A superb problem to be dealing with for sure. Thank you also to Brian Brazzi, Eye Association Director, for his tireless efforts to harness zillions of details and consistently put on enjoyable quality alumni events, and for his friendly interactions with me and his patience in viewing all of the photos that I sent him of fish that I may or may not have actually caught. Thank you to the hundreds of men and women head and assistant coaches I have learned from, borrowed ideas from, coached with, and emulated. To the team managers, trainers, and numerous support staff, almost all of whom were volunteers. And to the other IU athletes I had the honor of competing with, and to those I was lucky enough to coach. Thank you to the special friends who accepted my invitation to attend this ceremony as my official guest. Diana Dupree and her husband Rick Dupree, Mary Kay Aylesworth, her wife Joyce Taylor, Cheryl Scott over there, and her sister Anna Stanley, Susie Crouch, Kurt Simic, and IU softball associate coaches Chanda Bell and Kendall Fern. And most especially, thank you for the love and support of my wonderful wife, Karen Lopio, who, although not an official Hoosier, has many other good qualities. And who admitted that she enjoyed as much as I did last year's trip back here for the first fun ever recognition of the 50-year I Women. Thank you very much, Anne, for your kind introduction. I recently reconnected with Anne by phone a few weeks ago, and I learned about her amazing career. As you probably know, Anne is a former IU volleyball athlete who was a terrific hitter on the varsity and happened to wear my old number 24, so of course I liked her from the beginning. I had the pleasure of coaching volleyball at IU for 2 years back in the mid-70s while I was completing my doctorate, serving both as the head JV coach and assistant to the varsity under coaching genius Ann Lawver. Another of your board members, as you mentioned, Ginger Gillis, was an excellent setter on my JV team. Back then that went 35-2 over 2 seasons. Ginger and the other talented JV players made me look like a good coach. In case you wonder what a college-age Ann Bastianelli or Ginger Gillis, Coach Ann Lawver, or Coach me looked like, I brought a picture that I will also send out this year. My JV team and varsity shared the same practice gym with which was upstairs in a space called the men's gym in the Hyper building. This was the same gym where we played our varsity basketball games. I think our JV team often annoyed the varsity. We would occasionally scrimmage against each other in practice. Back then I didn't know a whole lot about complex volleyball strategies since basketball and softball were really my strengths. So I emphasized basic fundamentals and pretty much just drilled fundamentals all practice long. Our sets all looked the same, our blocks all looked the same, our coverage all looked predictable, and we had no special plays. However, we would often beat the varsities in practice since they were working on all the various strategies and advanced skills that they needed to compete against other teams' varsities. I'm sure it boosted our confidence and did no real damage to the varsity morale. It further cemented my coaching philosophy in any sport or level that emphasis on fundamentals, execution, and the little things can sometimes beat better talent and complex strategy. Indiana University, as we and people around the globe know, a very special place. I've taught and coached at 8 colleges, some small, some large like IU and the University of California, Berkeley. I've visited numerous campuses throughout the country. There's something so unique and special about IU that sets it apart and makes it the outstanding university it is, and that gives it a spirit that is palpable. I feel it, and I'm sure you do too. Our current IU men's and women's teams represent us well and are continuing the winning tradition established by those who came before them. I've been so impressed with the philosophy and framework that Fred Glass and the Department of Intercollegiate Athletics, through their leadership, coaching, and administrative staffs, have created to guide and support our student athletes. From the 24 sports, one team motto, to the Excellence Academy, the Bill of Rights, the Code of Conduct, including zero tolerance for sexual violence, and the 5 priorities, all contribute to laying what I consider to be a tremendous foundation for success by by putting values above all else. Doing the right thing the right way, I believe, will lead to success because quality students and coaches will be attracted to such an institution and good results will follow. Debate about values has been part of sports since they first began. In the early days of women's participation in sports, there was much fear about many things. There was fear that if they allowed women to compete, they would develop a, quote, win at all costs philosophy like the men had, quote. One female writer wrote in 1929, "There's a tendency when boys' rules are used to emulate men and their type of play, and other objectionable features, desire for outside competition, and all the emotional strain. Of all these objectionable features, the desire to win is uppermost. In emulating the mistakes of men, let us not lose sight of our ideals of perfect health and perfect sportsmanship." Another writer stated, quote, "Interscholastic tournaments and championships are entirely unsuited for the interests, needs, and capacities of girls. Girls ought to laugh and squeal over their games, not play them in the dogged spirit characteristic of young men's competition." So as you can see, there are several flaws in the argument that men's programs were solely to blame for all of the women's athletics' slow growth. Plus, if one were to look back at the early history of men's athletics, one would find that those teams went through many of the same developmental stages as women. They just did so several decades earlier than the women. Men's teams back then had fewer perks, operated with smaller staffs, and for example, in the first years of men's athletics at Indiana, team student managers served as equipment managers, team statisticians, travel coordinators, on-the-road bill payers, sports information press release writers, and many other jobs that are now handled by multiple staffs today. When the AIW ran college women's programs in the 70s, I was involved in those first national championships and was frustrated, like many of my colleagues, when the NCAA 10 years later moved in to take over the governing of women's athletics. We were sure things would be worse and our purity of purpose would be snuffed out by the oft-quoted win at all costs label that we attached to the NCAA. I've been wrong about a lot of things in my life, and I'm glad I was wrong about that. The NCAA is certainly not perfect, and college sports still have many deserved criticisms, yet the opportunities and joy that the last 50 years have provided college women athletes, I now believe have come about because of the combined efforts of men and women working together in one department under one governing body. Last year's first combined 50-year I-Women and I-Men celebration on homecoming weekend reflected that unity that IU's athletic department stands for. In my past, I was a great athlete and a great coach. I'd like to give you just a couple of examples that illustrate and highlight my achievements. The first occurred during my sophomore year in high school in a crucial basketball game against a big rival in their gym, which was so small the boundaries met the walls. And the fans sat in a balcony that surrounded and hung over the court. The noise was deafening. We had just tied the ball up, and in those days before the alternating possession arrow, we tossed a jump ball, so we went to the center circle for jump ball toss. The tip came near me, I grabbed it, took off at full speed, laid up a soft, uncontested layup for a quick 2. There was only one problem. It was the other team's basket. The gym went quiet before erupting into wild cheers. The refs had to stop the game to go over to the scores table and explain what to do. As a coach, I was in my first year as head basketball coach at the University of Northern Colorado. We were on our way driving 2 vans to an eastern neighbor state, Nebraska, for a game against a smaller college. I was driving one of the vans as we drove along for several hours on a smaller state road when our other van pulled up alongside us holding a sign in the window that said, "We need gas." I looked ahead and saw miles of barren open country with only a hint of trees and maybe the possibility of a town way off in the distance. I pointed ahead and we continued on toward those trees. As we finally neared the trees, I relaxed, seeing the tops of some roofs and a sign up ahead. Relaxation changed to shock as I read the sign. It said, "Welcome to South Dakota." Somehow we had veered north rather than stay on course to go east to Nebraska. Somehow that wasn't the end of it, as we discovered that the town wasn't really a town. It had no gas stations and no businesses. We spotted a farm with a gas tank in its yard and pulled in, knocked on the door, and a very nice farmer and his wife saw 2 vans of college kids suddenly appear out of nowhere. They became our new favorite people who graciously gave the empty van some gas, tried to refuse a payment, and pointed us back south with corrected directions. The final example of my capabilities as a basketball coach came when I was at Sonoma State University in California. We had played an away Friday night game, stayed over there, and then we're heading the next day from there about 150 miles to the site of our next night's Saturday game. Part of the drive was on a curvy road known for its 55 hairpin turns and 2 summits. As we began to climb Highway 299, we excitedly noticed the hint of snow flurries. And we don't generally get snow in most of California. The pretty soft flakes got quickly bigger and began to stick on the ground. Eventually it got to the point where cars and trucks were pulling over to put on chains. I was driving a 15-passenger state van, and we dragged out the oldest, rustiest chains and spent some time debating how they should go on until a nice trucker came over and helped us. We then continued on until coming off one turn on a decline, we started to slide. We were sliding, pointing toward a head-on crash into the mountain. I did everything I could to try to steer like the Titanic to make the majority of the blow hit the side rather than head-on. As we kept sliding, I somehow managed to not even clip the side of the van at all, but we were now crossing the center double yellow median strip and heading straight off the cliff on the opposite side, which had no guardrail. I said, "Hang on," and had that momentary sensation of feeling what was about to happen going airborne. Instead, at the last instant, I somehow got the front nose to point back parallel to the road, except we were now on the wrong side of the road as an oncoming car came around a blind curve toward us. Luckily, they saw us in time to slow, and I continued to work to get the van back on our side of the road and under control. When I finally did, I tried to sound casual, and I said, "Everybody okay?" As I looked out in the rearview mirror to see 13 sets of bulging eyeballs, and some hands grabbed onto seat backs and others to each other. My voice was casual, but I couldn't stop my jello legs from shaking. We missed our shooting practice that day, arriving too late to our destination. But that night, we went out and played as loose and joyful as anyone could imagine. Winning the game felt easy, knowing we were still alive to play it. When I was looking up Highway 299, the road number last week to refresh my memory, I read a travel forum response, someone asking about driving that route, and the respondent wrote, quote, "Driving this route in the dead of winter can be treacherous. Black ice has put more than one vehicle over the cliff." So great athlete, great coach, you now have anecdotal evidence to decide for yourself. While I certainly envy what today's student athletes have, I primarily feel gratitude in being part of something bigger than myself at the beginning of the history of the so-called, quote, modern athletics for women. Having been an athlete, coach, official, and administrator, back then gives me a unique connection to today's athletes and feels like a special privilege. Although we're given the tribute title of pioneers, I know we stood on the shoulders of the true pioneers of the earliest 20th century who came before us. It was they who inched the concepts along, changing people's beliefs slowly facing opposition, but each decade getting us closer to the opportunities I was privileged to have and laying the foundation for what we see today. I am extremely proud to have been an athlete, coach, and graduate of this great university. Thank you again for the honor and privilege of receiving the Grotke Award in this beautiful facility at this special dinner, and for the weekend activities tomorrow as we pull for an IU victory. Go IU! Thank you.
Tennis teammates won the Big Ten championship 4 consecutive years. Just want to let that sink in again. From 1988 to 1991. Brenda hails from Fort Wayne, where she started her tennis career playing on the junior circuit and then played for Homestead High School. Even as a 7th grader, she says, having seen the Hoosiers play in Fort Wayne, she knew she wanted to play here because she could tell that IU just had the coolest players. So she said she didn't even look at other schools. Lynn just simply watched her play and then, made her an offer. Any truth to that? No. Yeah. Once Brenda got here, she got a real taste of IU tennis. Yes, it was a full-time job, but the culture of winning was so powerful, she says, the girls never doubted that they could win. She told me the story of her senior year when the IU team trailed Wisconsin 4-2 going into doubles in the Big Ten championship. And the IU culture of winning kicks in, and the girls won all 3 doubles matches against a Wisconsin team coached by Kelly Ferguson. Remember Kelly Ferguson? Great tennis player. After graduation, Brenda attended law school, graduated with honors, and undertook a law career with Baker & Daniels, which lasted about 11 years. She focused mostly on employee benefits during that time. And during that same time, she became so involved in singing and worship leading that she came face to face with one of those moments of truth that convinced her that while she was professionally successful, she was not completely personally fulfilled. So taking a hiatus from the law, Brenda pursued divinity studies at Christian Theological Seminary and pastored with the United Methodist Church, Roberts Park, and North United Methodist. Much of her professional work since then has been consulting for nonprofit and religious causes and organizations through Charitable Allies, and more recently with the American Studies Program, whose focus is on sustainable urban development. Today, Brenda draws great satisfaction from moving people from success to significance. All her life, Brenda's given her all to the sport, and the game of tennis has returned the love, inducting her into the Indiana Tennis Hall of Fame in 2007 and into the Fort Wayne Tennis Hall of Fame 10 years later. Brenda Hacker-Frege, by order of the officers and board of the Eye Association, and with the enthusiastic endorsement of this award's namesake, you are hereby inducted into the 2019 class for the Leanne Grotke Award. We present this award with gratitude and admiration for your many outstanding achievements, including the many groundbreaking contributions you've made to Indiana University, both as one of its trailblazing women in athletics and as an individual who truly has enhanced the university's reputation by your association with it. Brenda, congratulations.
Well, this is quite an honor, highly unexpected. I don't feel old enough yet to be here, and I feel like there's a big part of my life yet that I still want to accomplish, and that I hope now, particularly with this award, that it lives up to the legacy that Leanne Grotke has set. But I want to thank the Eye Association and everyone involved with this event. Particularly to Brian Brassi and his numerous emails and phone calls, and thank you so much for for the detail and the care that you have extended to me, and I know to everyone else who's been a part of this. Thank you to Anne for your introduction. It was great to be able to talk with you on the phone and to get to know you a little bit, and I look forward to getting to know you more. We live actually fairly close together, and we hadn't met before, so thank you. To IU Athletics and to this Indiana University, it's a privilege to call yourself an IU athlete, and I don't take that lightly. And so I want to talk a little bit about just the experience of the lessons learned from being here. First, I'm really impressed and amazed by Leanne Grotke. Her commitment to IU athletics is what I'm the beneficiary of. When I arrived here in 1987, women's athletics to me felt equal to men's. I didn't experience what the Trailblazers had to experience. I got to just stand on their shoulders, and I got the benefit. And in fact, joining the women's tennis team at IU had such a rich history already under Coach Mooring's leadership that I actually felt like I joined the privileged class, not something else. And so I thank Leanne Grotke, and I thank all of the women who have been trailblazers and made my life easy in that respect of stepping into athletics, because we did feel equal. And I thank Lynn for creating an amazing tennis dynasty and for inviting me to be a part of it. I literally I didn't apply to go anywhere else, and in fact, I think as soon as Lynn could make an offer, he did, and I accepted, and then I was recruiting my friends to come to play on the tennis team as well. So, in reflecting on this award, I think there's a couple sort of lessons that I just wanted to lift up, because I don't think I think they're important things for everyone to remember and for future athletes to take away, and for everyone involved with IU athletics to appreciate. First of all, just the concept of achievement. I mean, what does it mean to get an achievement award? You know, scientists today tell us, and I know this from working in the inner city and working with young people, that that achievement and the ability to set goals and to work towards them and to make sacrifices is actually critical to our health and our well-being. And that concept of being able to do that, to have the agency to set a goal and work towards it, is something that is just vital to every young person's development and growth. And sports teaches this in a way that I don't think many other activities do. I know there's arts and all those, and they do teach this as well, but sports does it in a particular way. Sports teaches us about grit and the relationship between commitment and discipline and sacrifice and winning. And they go hand in hand. We don't always win, but we will never win unless we can be committed and disciplined, and in many cases, make sacrifices. The more we have to work, the greater the obstacles, the more we have to stretch, in fact, the sweeter the victory. This is a counterculture message in today's time, because we like instant gratification. But IU athletes learn this on a really deep level. The hours practicing, the physical training, the time traveling. We traveled in 15-passenger buses as well, and they were a little frightening. And now today there's these great big buses, and I'm really jealous. And then just balancing the academics that goes on top of that. Sometimes, and I have to admit, there were moments in the 4 years that I was here, I was like, wow, is this worth it? Wouldn't college life be more fun and easier without this? Well, it may have been more fun, it definitely would have been easier, but it would never have been as rewarding. If I hadn't played for the 4 years, I never would have experienced what Anne mentioned was our senior year, or my senior year, the 4th year that we were in the Big Ten championships, and we were actually up against some pretty tough odds. My freshman, sophomore, and junior year, we won pretty hands down. We were the better team, we were expected to win, and we did. That changed my senior year when Wisconsin was a much better team. Their program had improved, and we were actually playing not at full strength. My teammate, Gretchen Donninger, at that time, who is my model of grit, was playing with 2 torn ACLs from her thighs to her ankles. She was taped up. We were in the finals against Wisconsin. We had lost 4 singles matches. In that time, the format was you go out and play singles and then you go play doubles. We had lost 4 of our singles matches. We didn't expect that to happen, but that happened. So we were down 4-2, and we had to go into the doubles and win all 3. Wisconsin's number 1 and number 2 doubles were really good. Our number 1 doubles was really good. Our number 2 doubles was not so good. Me and my partner normally played 3, but because Gretchen had 2 torn ACLs, coach moved her down to the 3 spot with her partner and moved up my freshman teammate and me to number 2. Interestingly, my freshman teammate, who was so much fun to be around. She was from New York City and had never really been in the Midwest before, and so everything was a shock to her, even the fact that we didn't have tall buildings. But when we walked out on the course, she said to me, well, we're gonna win this. I really think we will. And I was the wise senior at that point, and I didn't tell her, I'm like, you fool. I don't think, but I'm gonna go with this, because if you believe it, why not? We actually played a flawless match. We played in the zone and we won. I can't remember, Coach, what you think it was? 6-0, 6-1. Okay, so we won 6-0, 6-1. I had never played at that level in terms of being in the zone. It's what every athlete dreams of being able to do, and we did it. And then we watched our number 3 doubles win their match, and we won the Big Ten Championship for the 4th year in a row. If I hadn't been a part of a program like this, I never would have had that experience, and our team never would have understood fully what it meant to be really, really stretched and to overcome some pretty big obstacles. So yeah, not being an athlete might make life easier in terms of college, because it is a lot of work. For any athlete, it's a lot of work. But it's completely worth the effort. And I'm so grateful for this university for letting me be a part of it. The second thing I wanted to lift up on the lesson that's really important, particularly for a tennis player, because we win alone in most cases unless we're playing doubles. I mean, yes, you have your team, but it's an individual sport. But the important lesson that I learned through being here at this university, and it has carried me throughout my life, is that nobody wins by themselves, even in an individual sport. We win because others have invested in us in amazing ways and created environments where we can thrive. And I'm standing here today because of so many people that invested in me. First, my parents, who are here this evening. It was their love and their commitment and their willingness to take my brother and myself every weekend, it seemed like, to different tennis tournaments that made it even possible to get a scholarship at Indiana University, the place that I really wanted to attend after watching IU play when I was in 7th grade. And it's their love and their sacrifice that I try to model in my own life in terms of working with congregations and working with the community and in raising our own kids. Then there's my brother, who's also here, Todd Hacker. He had to put up with me as his little sister, following him around as a kid and trying to follow in his footsteps. And he came to IU first to play on the men's tennis team, and so I followed him, and he made coming here pretty darn easy. So thank you. Third, my coaches. So Ron Heathman was my coach when I was growing up. And then here at IU is Lynn Loring, and I am just incredibly indebted to your example and to your reserved caring. So Lynn, you know, he coached women, and somehow he managed to stay out of the drama, and I don't know how he did it, but I really do appreciate the fact that he was so steady and so strong and just such a rock for the whole tennis team. I also want to thank all the teachers and the administrators and the mentors and the friends who created this community of support, not only around me, but all of the athletes. They challenged all of us and encouraged all of us from the folks who were in the academic, the training centers, and were helping with classes. I mean, there was just so much support in this place. And they challenged us all to be the best we could possibly be on the court, but also in life. Fifth in chronology, only in chronology, is my husband, who has been my companion for the better part of my life after IU. And it is for his commitment that I was able to make the shift from being a lawyer in a large law firm, doing well and making a fair amount of money, to saying, yes, if you feel called to ministry, I fully support you to go to seminary and to take on jobs that you really don't get paid much for, and that'll be okay. And in fact, I'll be your partner in that. I can't tell you the number of things he's done in the urban downtown Indianapolis area, from building urban gardens to touring or helping little kids from a local elementary school to our haunted house that we had created for them as a reward for staying in class and having perfect attendance. He's been the partner who has made the work in the community so much fun and such an important part of our lives. And so I would just like to say that we often give awards to people as individuals, but in doing so, I hope we always recognize that success and achievement is never in an individual endeavor. And this award and Leanne Grotke's legacy is really about the achievements made possible by people like you. Because you're the ones that invest. So the final lesson I think I'd leave you with is that our job and the most rewarding thing that we can do in the world is to focus beyond ourselves, like Leanne has done, to invest in others and create environments where other people can thrive. You've done that for me. I hope I'm doing that for others. And when we do, we find that we truly win when everyone wins and our world is a better place. So I accept this award as a challenge to live by Leanne Grotke's example of being a trailblazer for others. And it's a lifetime goal. And at the end of my life, I hope I can look back and feel a sense of accomplishment at having achieved exactly that. Thank you.
Debbie Milburn Powers has the distinction of being the first female athlete in IU history to be awarded the Elvis J. Starr Distinguished Senior Award. This honors up to 5 seniors who have excelled both academically and as campus leaders in each graduating class. There are a few reasons why you can tell that she deserved that award. She played basketball from 1969 to 1973 and captained the team as a senior. She was the leading scorer on the 1973 IU women's basketball team that played in the Final Four and that has a banner hanging in Assembly Hall. Debbie also played softball and field hockey for Coach Kay Burris. She said that was so she could hang out with the rest of her teammates and on the off season, but you know, I understand you're a pretty darn good player, those too. After graduation from IU, Debbie was drafted to play in the first professional women's basketball league. But the passage of Title IX brought lots of exciting sports opportunities for girls, so she became a high school volleyball, basketball, and tennis coach instead at Muncie Northside High School, which is also where she met her husband, Jim. Debbie's defining moment as a coach was when she led the Muncie Northside High School volleyball team to 2 state championships, especially that 1975 title against the South Bend team that had boys on it. Given the shorter net in the girls' game and the taller South Bend boys, it was the high school version of the battle of the sexes between Billie Jean King and Bobby Riggs. But since Debbie and Steve Shondell had founded this Munciana volleyball program, they had this trick up their sleeve, and Steve and his brother Dave used to scrimmage against Debbie's team so they'd be ready for the boys when that match came around. Well, you know who, Leanne Grotke, watched that match. Called Debbie to congratulate her, tell her how proud she was that she was an Indiana alum and leading the way at that historically critical time for women's sports and for Title IX. After 3 years at Muncie Northside, Debbie was recruited by Ball State as a tenure track professor in health, PE, and wellness. As was the custom of the day, she also coached basketball until her second child came along. She co-authored a textbook called The Wellness Way of Life, which is in its 11th edition and still being used at many universities even today. In 2014, in response to the many who have encouraged Debbie to tell her story, she wrote her memoir, titled She Met Her Match. Bob Hamill wrote the foreword to that book. Debbie and Jim retired in 2006 and now live in Florida, where they are avid exercisers, run and walk every day. Debbie Milburn Powers, by order of the officers and the board of the Eye Association and with the enthusiastic endorsement of this award's namesake, you are hereby inducted into the 2019 class for the Leanne Grotke Award. We present this award with gratitude and admiration for your many outstanding achievements, including the groundbreaking contributions you've made to Indiana University, both as one of its trailblazing women in athletics and as an individual who truly has enhanced the university's reputation by your association with it. Debbie, congratulations.
Well, congratulations to all of the other award winners this evening. I'm truly honored and humbled to be in your presence, and thank you to Brian and the Eye Association who organized this amazing event. It's amazing to me how many women athletes at Indiana University then extended into being pillars of their community in leading in other women's sports activities and in coaching and refereeing and doing all the things to enhance women's opportunity in sport. I'm humbled not only to be here this evening, but to be accompanied by so many of my family and friends who have come. My brothers are here. They're both Indiana University graduates, and one actually Indiana University Medical School as well, and they flew in from California and from Florida. Our son, I like my son to stand, he is a two-time All-American athlete here at Indiana University. He competed in track and cross country, and his senior year, he was awarded the Big Ten Medal of Honor, given to one male athlete at Indiana. So he is, he's going to be probably getting an award like this someday. My daughter was unable to attend because she lives in Prague in the Czech Republic, so she certainly sent her greetings. My friends who are here have supported me and listened to all my IU stories way too often, and I thank them for being here. I'm especially pleased to have 3 athletes that I coached. And I'd like my 3 athletes that I coached to stand. They made the journey to be here. And what a shock to have some friends from my dormitory who I lived with for just 1 year in Foster Quad just show up and come. So thank you for coming. That was a shock. sorority sisters came to representing Kappa Kappa Gamma, so I appreciate you coming as well. Of course, my husband of almost 44 years, Jim, he had no choice as to come, of course. And he spent many years sitting in bleachers watching me coach and at times holding a cranky little baby in his arms. Yeah, that's you, Chris. And he also had to put up with guys calling our house asking if Debbie could come out and play basketball with them. And he said, "What about me?" And he said, "That's okay, just have Debbie come." So he's been my life teammate, of course. So if you bear with me, I'd like to read a brief story. 58 years ago, a 10-year-old girl ran up and down the playground basketball court. Her ponytail swayed and bounced as she dribbled, passed, shot, and defended. She wore Chuck Taylor Converse high-top sneakers, handed down by her brother. Her teammates were the neighborhood boys, who included her as one of their own. She exulted in the exertion, the sweat, her body moving around the court, and the feeling of accomplishment when the shot sailed through the basket. "I'm going to play on the school team," she declared. "I'm going to be an Olympian, and maybe even a professional player." She boasted, of course. But when it came time for tryouts for the school teams in elementary, middle school, and high school, it wasn't to be. There were no teams for girls, and she was not allowed to play on the boys' team. The boys wanted her on their team. "We'd win more if you were on our team," they said. "You're the best player in the school." But the adults around her said, "You can be the cheerleader." She hated cheerleading. So that young girl sat in the bleachers and watched her boy buddies play, and then met them later in the neighborhood for a pickup game. She cried when she went to bed at night and said her prayers. She begged God to turn her into a boy overnight so she could play on a real team. That little girl was me. When I walked onto campus in 1969 at Indiana University, I was thrilled when I saw a sign in the women's locker room that said, "Tryouts for the women's basketball team." I thought, they have a real team and I can play with other accomplished female athletes. I mean, I stepped onto campus thinking I want to be a physical education major. I mean, what else did a girl do that liked sports? She became a PE major. So I was going to be the best one that there could be. But when I saw that sign, that night I grabbed my basketball and I went over to the Hyper building and found an empty gym and started practicing. Running up and down the court, shooting jump shots, practicing my dribbling, all the moves I'd practiced since I was 12 years old. As I was playing on my own, quiet gym, I looked in the doorway and there was a tall, white-haired gentleman standing in the doorway watching me. White hair, snow white hair, very distinguished, bushy eyebrows. And he stood there and watched for a while and then he disappeared. The next night I went back again, grabbed my basketball, went to the gym all alone, shot, ran up and down the court, shooting jump shots, doing all the things I love doing. That night the man appeared again. He walked out onto the court toward me and I stopped playing and put my ball on my hip and he said, "What is your name?" And I said, "My name is Debbie Milburn, and I'm going to try out for the women's basketball team." And he said, "Well, Debbie, I've watched you practice and I've watched you play. I have never seen a girl shoot the jump shot like you do, with such accuracy and such perfection." He said, "I think you'll make the team." And I said, "Well, thank you. I really am looking forward to it." As he walked away, I said, "Excuse me, sir, I didn't catch your name." And he said, my name is Branch McCracken. Now, for you folks that are true IU people, you know who Branch McCracken was. He was the NCAA championship coach for IU and Naismith Hall of Fame winner. And he actually died that the summer after that year. And I was so pleased to have the acknowledgement of that man. And I still remember those moments of how special that was to me. And that was my introduction to Indiana basketball, to meeting Branch McCracken. And the result of playing and making that team was 4 years of joy to get to fulfill my competitive urges. Now, Linda and I kind of had the same era of things here at IU. But a lot of this opportunity was due to Leanne Grotke and her leadership. In fact, 2 weeks ago, I called Leanne and thanked her for her service and her dedication to women's sports. And it was 46 years ago when I last spoke to her. So it's wonderful to get to chat with her. I remember as a tall, distinguished, well-spoken, bold woman who did a lot for us women. She really was the one that paved the way for all of us sports. She fought for us. And this was before Title IX. I remember our women's basketball budget my sophomore year was $312. So we still competed against the best teams in the country. And we were one of the best teams in the country. Of my 4 years, 3 of those years, we went to the national championship for women. So we did pretty well on just a little budget. Our coaches drove the van, we paid for our own shoes, we shared uniforms with the volleyball team, and then turned them over to the track team. And so it was great if you played all those sports because you just kept to hang on to that uniform for all those years. But, and you know, we didn't have all the things these women have today, but you know, the values and the competitiveness was still there. I remember once before a game, our coach told us to pack a sleeping bag because we were going to Illinois State and we were going to have to spend the night, so we were to sleep on the gym floor in a sleeping bag after the game before we drove back. So those are just the times that we endured. You know, it would have been nice to have $1 million budgets. It would have been nice to play in the assembly hall, but you know, the values and personal growth that we all accomplished in those sports is the same for women as men. And you know, for so many years, half the population did not get the opportunity for growth in sport. I was a mere blip on the screen of helping women develop in sport. And there are so many women that did so much more than me, but Leanne Grotke was really the one that developed it and was at the helm. I have to share with you a couple of quirky stories, of quirky things that we women athletes would have to put up with, and Donna Sullivan probably remembers this. Whenever we women, physical education majors or athletes, walked into the Hyper building, we had to be wearing a skirt or a dress. We would change into our athletic gear in the locker room, but when you finished, you had to get your skirt and dress back on out of the building. I think they were just trying to keep us ladylike or something, you know, but I hated that because I was hoping for once I wasn't going to have to wear a dress or a skirt all the time, but that was kind of quirky. And another one that really was against my competitive nature was after every basketball game, we had to meet the opposing team for punch and cookies. We had to meet the opposing team for punch and cookies after the game. Now, as aggressive and competitive as I was, making small talk with a girl that 20 minutes earlier had been pushing, kicking, shoving, elbowing me was not what I really wanted to do. Can you imagine the men, IU players, having punch and cookies with Purdue? Can you imagine Bob Knight and Jean Katie getting together for punch and cookies. It was a complete disconnect from what I was all about. But, you know, they wanted us to be somewhat ladylike. But Leanne Grotke's bold and undeterred leadership, as well as playing at IU, motivated me as I went into coaching. I began coaching just as Title IX passed. My career brought unlimited pleasure as I coached and mentored female athletes to reach their potential and have opportunities that I did not have. It was a very rewarding career. I coached 2 state championships in volleyball at Muncie Northside High School, and as Ann stated, the one was against boys. Boys were allowed to play on the girls' volleyball team in a high school in South Bend. We had to play them in the state championship. And again, this was complete disconnect because we had fought so many years to get a state championship in a sport, in girls' sports, and they let boys be on the team. So that was crazy, but it was, you know, it was the way it was at those times. And then I was the head coach at Ball State University in women's basketball, where I was able to award the first athletic scholarships for women. And 2 of those people are sitting out here, the 2 first scholarships I gave at Ball State University. I'll have to tell you a brief story about my first day at Ball State. I know, you know, it's not IU, but I know we had, you know, we are competitors at times. Last couple weeks ago, we were competitors, kind of. But my first day on the job at Ball State, I walked down to the equipment room and I introduced myself to the equipment manager, and I said, hello, I'm Debbie Powers and I'm the new women's basketball coach. Could you show me my equipment? Now this was 1976, so Title IX had passed 4 years ago, before that. She goes, well sure, you know, here's some balls. She handed me a bag of basketballs, here's your balls. And I said, great. And she said, here are your away uniforms and here are your home uniforms. She gave me 2 boxes. I opened up the home uniforms, held them up, white, nice uniforms, red numbers. I said, those are cool, those are good. She held up the away uniforms and they were baby blue. And I said, I thought Ball State was red and white. Shouldn't our away uniforms be red? And she said, oh yeah, it should be, but these were a sporting goods closeout special. So my girls went out there and away game in their baby blue. We looked like North Carolina playing fun. And I remember the first away game, they're out there warming up, and the opposing coach, another woman about my age, walked over and she goes, Debbie, I thought Ball State was like red and white. And I said, we are, but you know, sporting good closeout special. And she put her arm around me and she said, we understand. So, a few years ago, I wrote my memoir, Meeting Her Match, and I talked about a lot of the years playing as an elementary and middle school girl against the boys, and then, of course, I included a lot of my years playing in Indiana. And I wrote it for women, young women, to appreciate what they have, and for older women like me, they read it and they go, yes, I was there too. So, and a lot of business women even come up to me and they've read and they go, you know, I wasn't in sports, but I tried to be an attorney, and I tried to go to medical school, and I wanted to be an astronaut, and no one would look at us. But now women can do most anything. So I wrote it with that in mind, sharing some history of what it was like and the opportunities, and if you persevere and if you stick with it, how you can achieve certain things. And I'm privileged that Bob Hamill was here. Bob Hamill read the manuscript and said, will you please let me write the foreword for the book? So Bob, thank you for writing the foreword for Meeting Her Match. Bob Furnish did the editing for my book, and I appreciate that. Bob. You know, it's getting late, so it's time to conclude, but I just want to say one more thing. I've often thought about a conversation I had with my high school chemistry teacher. My high school chemistry teacher called me into his office and he said, "Debbie, you're our top chemistry student in the school. What are you going to do for your career?" And without hesitation, I said, "I'm going to be a gym teacher." He paused, he stared at me, and he said, "What a waste of your life that will be." Well, as I look back on my 33-year career in sport and mentoring young women and teaching and coaching, I would probably be like Leanne Grotke and say, I don't think it's been a big waste at all. So thank you very much.